we please talk about UFC Fight Night 172? Took place on Wednesday night. Main event: Keita versus Ige. I'm just going to go through a recap of the whole event because it was a really entertaining event. I mean, even like the prelims were brilliant. You had some absolute gems on there. The main card was very good. So I'm going to go through every fight and not every fight, just the highlights really, and just look at maybe fights next for the opponent, for the winners, and so on and so forth. What I thought about the performances. You'll have to bear with me. I will be flicking through my notepad because I don't have a producer. Because obviously, I'm a nobody. I can't afford one. So I use a pad of paper instead. Just as good, right? Yeah, of course it is. Right. So the prelims. This was actually good, like preliminary wise. It was quite a big night for the UK. You had two Welsh guys on there. You've got two English guys fighting on there. One lost and one won. And then you got and one of the Welsh guys won. The other one lost quite emphatically. But anyway, Jack Shaw. It was the first fight on the prelims. Jack Shaw, this Welsh guy. He is bloody good. Training partner of Brett Johns, I believe. Who's another. We've got a lot of Welsh fighters coming through, which is really good to see actually. I mean, because they must have some real talent over there. Because we've seen some really talented guys come through. Jack Shaw, wow, he looked incredible. Like, go back and watch the fight if you can. If you've got like Fight Pass, it's well worth going back and watching because I mean, the guy he was fighting was a bit of a nobody. If I'm honest, I can't even remember his name. But I don't think he wasn't the best. But still, Jack Shaw came in as a -800 favourite, biggest favourite on the card. So when you come in as that big a favourite, you've got to try and put a stamp on the victory. And he did just that. He got the submission. He looked sensational. He's now 13-0, but he has got one problem, because it's not as grappling, it's not as striking, because they're sensational, and he puts them together really well. The combination, from striking to grappling, he just looked so smooth and so comfortable. However, his biggest problem is that he is in the 135-pound division, and it's a murderer's row, that division. Do you know what I mean? You've got your Aljamain Sterlings, your Jose Aldos, you've got your Peter Yan as the champion, you've got Sandhagens, you've got Sugar Sean O'Malley's, you've got Cody Garbrandt's. Look at the fighters that are in that division. How the hell are you putting together a win streak of any meaning against those kind of guys? It's just going to be very difficult. But I mean, fights next for Jack Shaw. It's a tricky one because this, I think maybe you give him probably somebody outside the top 20, just so that he's got his feet slightly sturdier in the division. If not, I mean, I don't think Sugar Sean O'Malley is technically ranked yet because I don't think he's fought anybody that's that's top 20. I might be wrong there, but maybe that's a matchup they could put together because, like I said, Jack Shaw's grappling looked absolutely fantastic, and I don't think we've really seen Sean O'Malley get tested in that respect, before. I mean, obviously Sean O'Malley is sensational on the feet. That could be a fun fight. The only downside to that is one of their hype trains would probably stop there, and they've got to go back to the drawing board. Either way, interested to see what happens. Maybe Cody Stamen will come back down to 135. I think that was his plan. That could be maybe a fun matchup for Jack Shaw. Either way, future is bright for Jack Shaw. And then we had Civit. We have Modestas Bukauskas. I'm probably butchering that. Bukauskas. He's a Lithuanian fella fighting out of London. He looked very good. He looked very smooth. But I've got to give props to his opponent actually. His opponent actually looked really dangerous. He was hitting really hard. You could tell that the Greek guy Andreas Michailidis, we'll call him Michailidis. Michailidis had a power advantage. He was throwing some good leg kicks, but it was a bit of a strange ending to that fight because Bukauskas had him he used those Travis Brown elbows against the cage. Basically, for those that don't know what Travis Brown elbows are, Michailidis was going in for a kind of takedown, and Bukauskas kind of brought his elbows down, to the sort of just behind his ear, just around there. and they're perfectly legal because the back of the head is on the crown, the top of the top of the back of the head there, and yeah, so he was hitting around the back of the ear, and he landed 3 really good elbows, which kind of, and if you get hit behind the ear, that takes your equilibrium straight away. The round ended, and Michailidis was kind of on the floor, just like, you know, like kind of out of it. And the referee was saying, look, you know, they were legal shots, get on your feet, get on your feet. Comedy of errors, like he went to lean on the cage, but he was actually next to the door, and they opened the door, he went falling through. I mean, hilarious from my point of view. Probably not for him though, because the referee immediately called the fight, because it looked like he was kind of out of it. And in fairness, he was out of it. And also, I think he was kind of milking it a little bit, because he thought that the shots were illegal, and he was maybe pushing for a DQ. Because, I mean, but either way, he didn't look very responsive, and it was a good stoppage, and it was a good win for Bukauskas. I mean, who do you give him next? It needs to be another person that we're probably kind of unaware of, really. I don't know. The light heavyweight division. You've got a lot of options there before he starts cracking. I don't think he should get a ranked opponent next, because whilst he looked good, he didn't look. So there were definitely some things that he needed to work on there, like, you know, avoiding those leg kicks and just yeah. But hey, it's a stoppage. It was a good win, and keep an eye on him. Again, you know, I believe he's the first Lithuanian-born fighter to get a win in the UFC. So congratulations to him. And yeah, it was good. It was yeah, good performance. Lerone Murphy versus Ricardo Ramos. Now, Ricardo Ramos was kind of hotly tipped here, because Murphy, he's another guy, he's back from Manchester, I think, English guy, really good striker, really good kickboxer, got great power, and he showed that, because Ricardo Ramos was tipped to kind of get the win here, but because, obviously, as with a lot of the English fighters, generally speaking, there's a notion that if you grapple them, they're going to come unstuck. I mean, you know, we saw that back in the day with Daly against Koscheck, and we all know how frustrated Daly got with that one, don't we? And yeah, so Ramos, he went into, you know, to try and grapple, and actually, Lerone Murphy, he looked really good in the grappling point of view, because he actually got a takedown of his own. And he finished the fight with some vicious ground and pound. He landed a really lovely elbow that basically knocked him out, and then he came back around again. And then Murphy gave him another couple of gifts in the form of some punches to the dome. And yeah, it was just a ding and a ding and a ding. And then you've got Lerone Murphy, another very exciting prospect at featherweight. This one was 145 pounds. Now again, it's a murderer's row at featherweight, isn't it? But there are a couple of decent fights that I'd like to see here, because obviously they put him against Ricardo Ramos, who was doing this weird kick as well. I think he needs to, Michael Bisping pointed it out, but I saw it. It was like you know, when somebody does like a back heel in football, like, or like a Cruyff turn, like where they put one foot behind the other. It might be. I don't know anything about football. I might be butchering that, but either way, it's like he kind of tapped like his right foot around the back of his left foot, and kind of stabbed out into like a leg kick. And it was weird. It was a weird kick. It's like, what's the upside to that? That you slightly jab their leg, and then you've got your legs crossed, you get punched in the mush, and you're gonna, that's gonna spell, his coaches need to drill that out of him right away. Just get rid of that move. But yeah, either way, Murphy looked very good. Very good. And yeah, I think a good fight for him, actually. Shane Burgos is coming off a loss. And Burgos, I think those kind of styles, that'd be a fun matchup, because they both like to stand and bang. Like I said, Burgos needs to get back in the win column. You know, I think Murphy needs a kind of a ranked opponent. So yeah, I would say Shane Burgos against Murphy next. You know, do that in a few months. Bloody entertaining fight. Very good potential. Then you've got the main event on the prelims, which was Khamzat Chimaev, butchering that, Swedish fella, and the other Welsh guy, John Phillips, who, I mean, with respect to John Phillips, he just got completely dominated. He got completely outclassed. So in fair play to him, he could have looked for a way out in the first round. I would have done, but you know, I'm a pussy. What the fuck do I know? But he was. You cannot question the heart on John Phillips. You know what I mean? It's definitely there all day, because he took an absolute beating in round one. Like Hamzat just, he came out like with a head kick, and like a head kick takedown combination. I don't think I've ever seen that. But he literally just like he threw the head kick and then went straight to the double and just got him down, and it was just pure domination from start to finish. Ended up getting the submission in the second round. Again, Hamzat, he looked very good. This is 185 pounds. I mean, you've got a few options at 185. He looked very, very good. Maybe you give him Derek Brunson. Derek Brunson hasn't had a fight in a while. He's a ranked opponent. I definitely think that Hamzat needs a ranked guy next, because he looked very, very good. His grappling just looked outstanding. But did it look outstanding because, with respect to John Phillips, grappling is not really his forte? He likes to stand and just punch and just get into a stand-up war. Hamzat was like using the Dagestani handcuff to great effect. It's where like you kind of like reach underneath your opponent when they're on all fours against the fence, and you reach underneath and grab their wrist with your right hand. So you kind of pinning their hand. So they have to post. They have to post, otherwise they're flat on their face. So they're using their other arm to post, and they can't then defend the punches coming in. Dagestani handcuff, lovely work from the Swedish guy. And I think really, he needs a ranked opponent next. So Derek Brunson, or maybe he gets the winner of Little Nog versus Shogun that's coming up next week. You know, that could be an interesting one, because then he has a legend under his belt. I mean, literally, because the state of this guy's grappling, he will force them under his belt. That sounded rapey. It sounded less rapey in my head. I'm going to move on from that. Anyway, moving on to the main card. The main card, again, it was very entertaining for the most part. Again, the highlights were, one of the highlights for me is Munir Laziz, right? He just looked outstanding. He fought this guy Abdul Razak Al Hassa, and yeah, he just looked absolutely sensational. He was just his flow, his just how he transitioned from grappling to striking. His kicks in particular, his kick combinations were some of the fastest I've ever seen. Like, what I mean is, like, he combined different kicks together. It's like leg to body, boom, leg body, boom, and then leg to head, boom. Just literally, how do you get your leg to move like that? I don't even understand it. He looked so bloody good. And yeah, I mean, I want to see him fight somebody good next, because yeah, 185 again. I mean, it's similar to Hazard. Just he could maybe a Derek Brunson, maybe a Derek Brunson, or possibly even the winner of Nogueira against Shogun, because I mean, he looked sensational. His defense was particularly impressive as well. The commentators kept on talking about how he had a great chin. I disagree with that slightly, because I don't think he was showing he had a great chin. He just defended very well. He blocked pretty much every strike, because the start of the round one, Al Hazza came in trying to take his head off, and he was just unloading combinations against the fence. But when you looked at it, Laziz just blocked basically every single one of them, and he just kept his head out of the way. He never took a shot clean. So in that respect, I'd say it's better defense than chin. Maybe he does have a good chin, but I don't think it was tested here. On the face of it, it looked like he was getting it tested, but actually no, his defense was just rock solid. Yeah, keep an eye on him. Oh, I'll tell you what would be a great matchup for him next. Marvin Vettori. That would be excellent. Yeah, make that happen. Munir Laziz against Marvin Vettori. Do that in a couple of months. That would be an excellent fight, because Vettori's looking to keep moving up the rankings. Munir Laziz definitely needs a ranked opponent next. Marvin Vettori, final answer. Make that happen. Stamann versus Rivera. that was it. That was a good fight. I thought it would be a good fight, and it was. Like both of them, went for it from start to finish. I feel like Stamann was just a little bit outclassed. He was just Rivera's just a little bit too good for him in every area, really. And I was very happy to see Rivera back in the win column, because he's had a couple of rough fights, and like Jimmy Rivera is one of the most talented guys in a very talent-rich division at 135. This one was competed at 145, but Rivera's weight class is 135. Same as Stamann. I don't know if they're both going down. I know Rivera plans to go down. Don't know if Stamann's going to go down as well, because he is thick. He is thicker than a Snickers. That Cody Stamann. He's thick boy fight club. Anyway, yeah, I think that both of them have got a lot to look forward to. Stamann's going to probably get back into the win column in his next fight, I would have thought. Rivera, let's see if he can try and climb back up the rankings and see if he can maybe get a rematch with PC Yan and see if he can do something differently. Either way, future's bright. Look forward to seeing them again. And another hard, Elliott versus Benoit. Again, I had a little bet on this one. I had Benoit by... They kept calling him Benoit. Is that right? That doesn't sound right. Does it? Benoit? I mean, back in the day when, in WWE, when Chris Benoit was about, when Jericho was making fun of him, he used to call him Mr. Benoit. But surely that's Benoit. Either way, they kept calling him Benoit, so I'll call him Benoit. Yeah, it was strange calling him from Elliott, I noticed in that. Because I had it 1-1 going into the third, and his corner was saying, keep it boring, you've got this already, just keep it boring. And it's like, I don't know if that's the best way to tell your fighter to go in. Keep it boring. Do you know what I mean? Especially, I thought it was 1-1. The fight metrics were very strange on this one. Are they definitely accurate? Because I thought that Benoit had way more significant strikes than he did. I don't know. I can't remember what the actual numbers were. I just remember looking at them when they came up on the screen and being very surprised. And yeah, but the thing is, the fight metrics, they don't always tell the whole story of the fight. I was listening to Believe You Me podcast, and I think Gomez, shout out, great podcast. If you don't listen to the Believe You Me podcast with Michael Bisping, you definitely should. It's fantastic. They were just having raised the question, should the judges get the fight metrics? And I argue that no, they shouldn't, because the fight metrics don't often tell the whole story, and I think that actually the judging criteria needs to change. We all know that. It's a topic that's been flogged, until it's dead. But the judging criteria hasn't changed. They still use the boxing 10-must system, and it's still largely based on strikes. You get a point for getting the takedown and getting the dominant position. But what about submission attempts? 'Cause I would give Benoit that second round, but just because he was being aggressive and trying to get the submission. Because he didn't get the submission, he was still trying to finish it. It's showing that he's attacking. He's still attacking, right? If you're on the feet and you're throwing jabs and kind of, like a Cody, like a Colby Covington style, where you're not throwing at full clip, you're just trying to overwhelm with volume and get some points. You see a lot of point strikers, but you get a point per strike because you're attacking. So if you're attacking with submissions, surely you should get points for that, because you're still attacking. But if you're throwing with a jab, it's rare that you're gonna finish the fight. So just because it's not a fight ender, with submission, for it to count, it has to end the fight. And I don't think that makes sense. I think that for submission attempts, you should get a check against your name. Okay, attempted a submission there, because what's the other guy doing? He's just defending. Maybe the other guy gets a point for successfully defending as well. But either way, I don't have all the answers. I'm a dummy. But something needs to change in the scoring system, because I think that the fight metrics they always bring up. Number one, I don't think they should bring those up, because the judges don't have them anyway, and they shouldn't have them, because I think that, as I said, the fight metrics don't always tell the entire story. Because I thought that Benoit was the more effective striker in places. I mean, they kept, and also I found it strange that the commentators in round 3 kept on talking about how tired Benoit was. I'm going to keep calling him Benoit because I can't. Benoit just doesn't sound right. And they kept on going on about how tired he was. He didn't look nearly as tired as Tim Elliott, who had blood all over his face, who was just sweating all over the place, mouth wide open. And Tim Elliott looked tired, not Benoit. I mean, maybe Benoit was tired as well, but they're both in the 3rd round. It was the whole fight had a very odd feeling to me. But either way, you know, Elliott did enough to get the win. It is what it is, you know. Fair play to him. Like, I look forward to seeing him move on next, and and even Benoit as well. I think that he showed that he's pretty good. Obviously, I had some money on the submission at 10-1, so when he had that knee bar, I was out of my seat. Yes, go on, because you know he's a Danaher guy. So those Danaher guys love leg locks. So I thought 10-1 that was worth a shot, and right at that moment, I thought I was counting my money already, and then Elliott slipped out of it. Terrible. Then you've got the main event, Qatar versus Ige. It was a fun fight. It was very comprehensive by Qatar. I thought Ige looked good countering, and he had his moments certainly. But for me, Keita looked just dominant. He looked crisp. He looked technical, and it was a good stand-up fight. And it was constant pressure from Keita that I think really edged it for him and the judges in every round. And he just looked very, very technically good. He just looked very competent in there. And it will be interesting to see who he gets next, because actually he's moved up now to, I think he's now ranked 5th or something like that. And you've got above him, you've got the Korean Zombie and Brian Ortega, but both those two are tied up with each other. I think they're going to fight each other soon. Then you've got like Max Holloway up there. Maybe you give him Max. Maybe you could give him Max. I don't know. But then you've got Zabit up there as well. Yeah, interesting. Because he's already fought Zabit, and like maybe the rematch with Zabit could be on the cards. Because as far as I remember, I might be wrong here, but from my memory, the last round when he fought Zabit, Zabit was kind of lucky to get out of there. Like the momentum of the fight shifted completely, and there was an argument that if that was like a 5-rounder, then Keita would have come back and won. So maybe to answer those questions once and for all, a rematch with Zabit is on the cards. Yair Rodriguez, he's with an out-and opponent at the moment. Lots of good fights to make. Yair Rodriguez or a rematch with Zabit. And that was the main event on a very fun card. We've got another fun card coming up on Saturday night. My bets, as always, were absolutely terrible. Let me know what you thought about the fights, and about the refereeing as well. Dan Mahavedi, he needs to take a look at when he's standing these fights up, because he was standing up the first fight, Laziz versus Al-Hassa. He kept standing. They go to the floor for like 20 seconds, and then he'd stand them up like straight away. You need to earn that stand up. You either need to tie up your opponent so that the referee's forced to stand it up after no action after a minute or so. But you can't just have the referee as soon as it goes to the ground standing up. It's not kickboxing. Other than that, Mahavedi, he's a good referee. You can tell. I like him. He's assertive. He's very assertive. After the prelim fight where the guy fell through the cage door, and there was a debate about whether the elbows were legal or not. Mark Goddard said, "Would you like to look at the replay?" And he said, "No, I know what I saw." That's good. I like that assertiveness. So, I'm not saying Mahavedi's a bad ref. Not by any stretch of the imagination. He's very good. In fact, I really like him. He's very kind of, just like I said, very sure of himself. But I do think he stands up the fights slightly too quickly. So it's something, we're all looking to improve on whatever we're doing, and I think that's the way he could improve. Maybe he feels differently. But either way, like I said, not saying he's a bad ref. He's a very good referee, in fact. But it's not kickboxing. It's mixed martial arts. Grappling is a huge part of it. You need to let the wrestlers and the grapplers earn their positions. Once they've earned their positions, you have to let them. You have to give them an opportunity to work. Is what I'm trying to say. I don't feel like Mavahedi was doing that necessarily. But yeah, either way, excellent night of fights. This is the great thing about the UFC. Like, you watch a whole event, it's not just main event heavy. This is why I love it so much. Because there's always going to be a good handful of excellent fights. There are some bad fights as well, don't get me wrong. But on the whole, you'll always see a lot of highlights throughout the night. And Wednesday night was no exception. I doubt that Saturday night will be an exception. I'll be tuning in. I've already put my terrible bets out, and they are. Actually, one of them's not a terrible bet, but it's always unlikely. So any betting is terrible, really. Do you know what I mean? Just always bet within your means. That's what I say. But either way, keep those bets terrible, and yeah, I'll catch you next time.